everybody, Professor Dust here, summarizing the 5 things that you should be doing if you're experiencing burnout. The first one is physiological recovery. This is about taking care of the body. It's pretty simple. Things such as getting your minimum 7 hours of sleep, ideally 8, eating healthy, not stress eating, especially when you're burned out. That seems to be a problem. And then number 3, moving your body in some capacity and getting some degree of exercise. So sounds simple, but that physiological recovery is kind of the basis for a lot of the more psychological and behavioral challenges that we're eventually going to need to get to. So number 2, psychological recovery. This is about the mind and the brain. So there's 4 different ways that you should be approaching psychological recovery, each of which will help ensure that you really are psychologically recovering in ways that are going to help you the next day when you're at work and you're trying to get things done. So the first one is detachment. Fully detach from whatever it is that you're doing. Don't try and be multitasking and doing a little bit of work while you're trying to relax. And the second one is having relaxation, which is about low activation. Having that baseline be rather low in terms of your energy, expenditure, etc. can also add to the quality of that psychological recovery. Number 3, find things that you enjoy and help you learn and grow and develop. This is called mastery, and research is illustrating that when you can focus on something that you really kind of get into flow and enjoy, your psychological recovery quality also increases. And then finally is just making sure that you have control over whatever it is that you're going to do. The degree to which we have that discretion and autonomy and how much and when and where and what exactly it is can also be helpful. So follow those 4 dimensions: detachment, relaxation, mastery, and control. Third, evaluate, systematize, and prioritize. Evaluation is making sure that you're taking stock of all of the job demands as well as all of the resources that are available to you to figure out where is this imbalance coming from. So we really can't fix the source of burnout unless we do some deep thinking on how we're going to logically solve this problem. So once we evaluate and kind of take stock of what's working and what's not working and what we have available and what we don't, then we can start to systematize and come up with small incremental changes in how we are approaching our demands and resources that allow us to make incremental change. And over time, that will be the way to maybe dig ourselves out of something that's causing that burnout. And the third part of that is prioritizing. So there always will be trade-offs. And one example of a trade-off that I think people are starting to realize is really important, especially with burnout, is freeing up their time. And so paying for services or outsourcing work to others that are willing to do it can be a very helpful aspect as well. So that's number 3, evaluate, systematize, prioritize. Number 4 and 5, this is where it really starts to get more challenging. Number 4 is communicate our limits. So this takes discipline, and this also is relying upon stage 3, where we really have an understanding of all the challenges that we're actually facing and what are we going to do about it. So communicating our limits is recognizing that within a social environment, whether it be at work or even at home, people don't necessarily know exactly what's going on in your mind and where you're spending your time and how much is on your plate. We have to be in charge of proactively communicating that information to others. So the degree that we can stay disciplined, be constructive, be logical, be organized and systematic in how we are explaining to others what we have going on in our whole priority system, the higher likelihood that we're going to have of being able to either say no in a way that is going to help them understand why you're saying no. It's also going to help ensure that you might have opportunities to negotiate or set boundaries or limits on what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. All of these things can be helpful, but it's all about being communicative and disciplined and how we're going about setting the stage for the fact that you can't do everything for everybody. And so that's a tough one, but at the same time, it takes work in order to dig out of that hole of burnout and ensure that you're doing the right things to preempt it and get away from the things that are causing the source of that burnout. The 5th one is called customizing your work. So a long time ago, we used to assume that organizations were really in charge, or our manager was in charge of dictating what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and who we're going to work with in order to make things happen. But as organizations get a little bit more organic and adaptive and just more volatile and uncertain, that onus actually is now on us as the employees to do one of 2 different things. Number 1 is job craft. Job crafting is just a phenomenon that it's really on us to proactively change the tasks within our work or the relationships embedded within our work environment in ways that are going to help us be more fulfilled, more productive, and creative in whatever we're trying to do. When we engage in job crafting, we are the ones that are in charge of our work design. So thinking through what degree of autonomy or discretion do I really need for these work processes and work decisions? What type of new information do I need? What type of relationships are working or aren't working? And are there ways to manipulate those to ensure that I'm doing whatever makes the most sense for me in terms of managing my work environment? So again, there's a switch, and that the onus is now on the employees to figure out how to proactively customize their job. The next one is what's called idiosyncratic deals. And this is a little bit different in that it is actually about the arrangement with the employer at large. So not just the job, but what exactly are the boundaries of the relationship. So when are you going to work? How much are you going to work? Where do you get to work? And this is getting into some of the conversations about flexibility and remote work, and just having more leeway in what makes the most sense for you. Is it possible to negotiate getting certain times of the year off that are very busy or that you would like to travel? Are there ways to share work or trade off work or customize? Get creative. Think about your context and think about what makes the most sense for you. Organizations know that it's expensive when employees leave, and it's expensive when employees aren't doing their best work because they're not fulfilled and they're burned out. So proactively approach your organization when appropriate with well thought out, planful ideas on how you might be able to customize arrangements. So focus on those 5. Again, number 1, physiological recovery sets the stage for the body. Number 2, psychological recovery, making sure that you're recharging the mind. Number 3, evaluate, systematize, and prioritize. You got to take stock of all of the ways that your job demands and your job resources are coming together that is causing the burnout. Number 4, communicate our limits to others. Nobody really knows what's going on in your life except you. You have to be responsible for understanding all of the nuances and contingencies. Be prepared to be disciplined and communicate those to others. And number 5, start getting creative and thinking about how you might customize your work. Thinking things like job crafting, the tasks and relationships embedded in your work, as well as idiosyncratic deals, the overall arrangement with your employer. Focus on those 5 things, and over time, gradually that'll help people get away from these feelings of burnout. Good luck.